What's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Switch Talk 2, the perfectly pocket-sized podcast for fans of this hybrid console that has stolen our hearts and minds. Switch 2, oh my god, it's on a tear. It's going really well, and now we're getting these games that are like third party, basically. It's not the Nintendo franchise like key players, but good stuff, good multi-platform stuff. Today we're going to be talking about Yooka-Replaylee, which is the remaster of Yooka-Laylee. It's going to be a really fun conversation because I'm here with my best buds who are super fans of Yooka, and we have Clay here and David. I want to start with a little bit of a get to know you question because that's important. You want to make that bond with the people that you're podcasting with and with the audience so they get to know us. I wanted to ask, what makes a good platformer? If you could pick one thing that is like a preference for you that you say, you know what, this makes a good one of these type of games. Just one aspect. For me, what shines about this game and just the little that I played it, because I've only played the demo, not the full release, like you guys have played the full release, is like these character interactions with the NPCs. You need something like that. And even when we were playing like a recent platformer like Donkey Kong Bonanza, there was voice acting, and then for some of these little like rock people and zebras and like the little NPCs in the world, they had something going on. But this game takes the charm to another level where they have this, what is it called, that sim speak where it's like blah, 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 and they like make these like goofy noises and then the full text goes in, but they're really speaking. That literally was driving me as I was playing this. I needed to hear it again and again. It's the secret sauce for me, is just the charm, I guess you could call it. That's what these platformers need, is like a soul. What do you think, David?
Um, so as the thing for me, I think of that when I look for in like a 3D platformer, if I had to pick one thing, I think my preference is a lot of it is just design focused.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, like I see Super Mario 64 as being kind of the gold standard of how to structure a good 3D platformer. I don't think we've ever topped it since. So just
Mm.
kind of that idea of not open world, not a big giant open world thing, but like a series of enclosed places where you're giving sort of limited freedom in a controlled environment, and then just kind of basically what I'm saying is collect-a-thon platformer. That's what I like. Like you're in
Yeah.
a small space, you got a bunch of things to do in a level, and then a lot of. And this is I don't think I'm going on more than one thing, and then just I think also character design and charm is just kind of really important
Mhm.
in general. Because I've seen some 3D platformers that don't have it, even if they have good game design. I'm kind of just like, I don't want to be in this world.
Yeah.
So that's
That's a
I
good
think what
one.
I look for is like whimsical charm and quality game design of a collectathon Super Mario 64 nature.
When you have these themed hubs, that really just knock it out of the park, like
Mm-hmm.
in Bonanza, I guess you call it the layers, but in like Super Mario 64, it'd be like a painting. It's like, here's the theme that you're going with right now. And like that hub thing is really important too. If you can create like super classics, that's great. What do you think, Clay? What makes a great platformer?
Yeah, so I agree with what David was saying. Like, this game is nothing like Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like, I would put
Hmm.
them in two completely different
Mm-hmm.
categories. But regardless of what kind of 3D platformer, I'm gonna have like a two-part answer. The first part for me is controls. If you don't have tight controls and you're not, um, you don't feel like you have full control of your character, or if things are just less than desirable, it can create a frustrating experience. Things like double jumps, I love those. Things where you can hover or fly a little bit, as you're falling, always just makes for a more enjoyable experience in my book. The other thing that I really look for, and not everybody will agree with this, but I love just level themes in general. I love having variety, not necessarily in
Hmm.
design, but just the ambiance, the vibe, and that goes for like visuals and music. And so, I love it when, even if they're generic tropes, I'm down for it. So even if you just have a snowy level and a jungle level and a spooky level, like I love that crap. Like I don't
Yeah.
even care if they never like reinvent the wheel with that. Yeah, like Donkey Kong Bonanza, they were like, let's think outside that box, and that's okay. Like I don't mind that, and I'm sure some people are like sick of the same old, but for me, I love those things. That's what I remember as a kid going in and like, all right, what's this next world gonna be? And
Yeah.
it had different music, it had different vibes. Um, but you're all kind of just doing the same things in these different areas. But it was just enough of a change that it felt welcome and it felt fresh. And yeah, I really like that about these types of games.
Hmm. Oh,
Absolutely.
I'm totally agree with you, Clay. I didn't articulate that part of it, but yeah, definitely. Games all, especially open world games nowadays, they just look all the same for the
Yeah.
entire
Mm.
game. Even though you have a lot to explore, it all's kind of the same theme across everything.
So Yooka-Replaylee is a enhanced remaster of the 2017 original game, Yooka-Laylee, and it's developed by Playtonic Games originally, and it's kind of like a Banjo-Kazooie ish platformer, and it had at the time of its release like its spin on things, and I enjoyed it, but you all are like huge fans. I also played the 2D side scrolling platformer Yuka no, the Impossible Lair. What was it? It was it Yooka-Laylee and the
And the Impossible.
Impossible
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Lair. And that was super addicting for me. So these characters, I'm familiar with them, but I'm more of a casual fan, whereas you all are like the experts. So right off the bat, I think since we kind of like dance around it a bit, just give me your overall impressions, Clay. How are you liking the fact of like, was this needed? Is this welcome for you? A remaster of this older game? Would you want to have seen like a revitalization and a part two, like a new game? Or are you okay with this being a remaster? How did this all work out for you?
So I'll be honest, my initial reactions when I like just hearing the name and the initial announcement without really seeing too much about it, I was a little disappointed. I was a little frustrated. Like, really, that's what we're doing? Um, Not because I don't enjoy the first game, and not because I don't think that they could do this well, but just because as a fan, I'd love to see them do more. I would just have loved a full on sequel, something new and different. But as I saw more of the game and as they kind of explained more of it, even in the initial announcement, it became pretty clear pretty fast that this was going to be something more than just upscaling and making it look nicer and updating it for current consoles. They clearly spent a lot of time on this and
100%.
put a lot into it. And so the more I was looking at it, the more I'm like, okay, this could be good. It's not very doing a remaster is pretty common nowadays, but hearing someone go back and go, how can we improve our game? How do we make it a better experience? That isn't as common nowadays. I kind of look at it as, what if your favorite band took one of their albums from 8 years ago and just decided to essentially re-record the entire album, still doing the same songs, but taking everything they learned for the last 8 years, taking feedback from their fans and re-recording it based on everything they've learned for the last 8 years. And that's essentially what this game is. And David knows way more about this
Hmm.
game than I do, so I'm going to shut up here in a minute. But overall, they put a very nice fresh coat of paint on it, but just so many quality of life improvements. More things than I probably am even noticing. But even a simple thing as just revamping the intro of the game and just changing how that plays out and thinking at it from a different standpoint of how people play games and how they experience games. I feel like this has got a lot going for it. And so while it wasn't initially what I wanted, I still think that this is what this game deserves, because I don't know if it necessarily got the most positive reviews. I was watching a couple reviews on this game the other day, and a lot of the people that I watched you talking about it were like, I didn't even play it originally. And so even though like
Hmm.
I assumed, because like me and David we loved it and we were excited about it. I backed it on Kickstarter, day one,
Yep.
and so like I assumed everybody loves this game and everybody's played it, because who doesn't love Banjo Kazooie? Who doesn't love Rare? Who doesn't love N64 3D platformers? But come to find out, it wasn't necessarily on everybody's radar. So I'm really hopeful that this is a chance for people to jump in who didn't get it on the first go around.
Yeah, it was niche like initially. I mean, you like the whole idea of Yuka um being like, okay, people who really love Banjo Kazooie, like a revitalization of that, and now they're trying to go back again. And I really hope that this is a success because I want more of this. The creativity, the the beauty of how it looks, all this, there's just so much there that is, I think, so much there to be enjoyed for people who haven't experienced it. David, how about you? Are you enjoying this remaster? Like how is it hitting with you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, and I actually I don't think we should be calling this a remaster, to be honest, because
Oh,
it really
remake?
isn't a remaster. It's it's really hard to describe exactly what this game is, and the best way I can describe it is it almost feels like a new game plus mode. Like it almost feels like somewhere between a remaster and like a DLC expansion. Um,
Mm,
because because in the original game, when you learn all your moves throughout the game, right, you don't have them all to begin with. So that's kind of when you start Yooka-Replaylee, you still have all the moves you learned in the original game from the beginning, and now all
I
the
didn't
levels have
realize that.
twice as many collectibles as they did last time.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, you're going in the same places, you're doing the same things you did before, but you no longer have to learn moves because hey, you played through the first game, you already learned them, you don't need to do that. No one wants to do that again. Um, and now all the also another thing that's changed from the original game is original game you basically had a world and then you expanded the world to make it bigger throughout the game, and now all the worlds are expanded to begin with as well as having the additional so there's a lot of so that's why it almost feels like a different experience from the original game, even though it's in the same places. So I don't feel like this game actually replaces the original game. Um,
Mm.
it it's yeah. My theory is that there was as a Kickstarter backer, there was promised DLC that we never got. And my theory with this game is they probably somewhere along making DLC or an expansion or some kind of new game plus for the original game, they probably realized that we should do more, and maybe we were because a lot of people thought there was a little bit of jank in the original game, which I'm admitting. I don't know if Yooka-Laylee 2 is a thing in development. I personally think it is, and my thought is this game is probably taking
That'd be crazy.
a lot of the improvements of whatever they were working on and merging that in with their DLC plans and essentially making some kind of hybrid expansion remaster. Almost from a control standpoint feels like a sequel. It's very strange because it kind of does feel like all three things. It feels like a remaster, it feels like a sequel, and it feels like a DLC, like New Game Plus. Um, and I think it's just an absolute like joy to play for me. Like, I always get into these ruts where I like, oh, maybe I just don't like video games anymore. And I feel like that quite a bit with modern gaming. And then like something like this comes along and like, oh yeah, actually I do really like video games. I just don't like what the video game industry has become.
Yeah.
And it's just so it's right out of my. It's very modern. It feels very influenced by Super Mario Odyssey. I was telling someone else another way I describe this game is like how if you remember. So obviously, if you don't know, I don't think we talked about it. Playtonic Games is basically a developer formed by ex-Rare developers who worked on the sort of golden era of Rare with the N64 days. So there's a very big connection between Yooka-Laylee and Banjo-Kazooie. It's a spiritual successor more than just name, because I know there's a lot of that stuff now where like an indie dev that's nowhere connected to the original games makes a spiritual successor of something. This is
Like doing
actually
their
worked on.
take
Yeah,
on it
this is
as
actually
opposed to.
worked on by the people who made Donkey Kong Country and Banjo-Kazooie, just under a different name. And I just completely lost my train of thought where I was going with that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up like how
Yeah.
real new and changes there were,
Mhm.
because I'm definitely not an expert, and being a casual, I didn't realize that the move set was like all unlocked, and that and the way that the world has been expanded
Mhm.
immediately instead of those changes you brought up are not apparent. It just feels so smooth. And I
Mhm.
think that because one of my favorite things is the move set and how good it feels to just jump, like move, glide, like it just felt amazing right off the bat. And I think they made a really smart choice in that way. From the official Steam page, as far as how new this thing goes, they call it's a reimagining of the
Mhm.
ultimate 3D platformer. It brings double the content, new areas, challenges, collectibles, customization, new moves, and combos for platforming perfection. This is it's impressive for me. The thing that sticks out is the colors and the visuals.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful game. I played on the Steam Deck. Uh, it just brings you in. There's just something so lively and happy about it. The models of everything are really done well, from the enemies to the ukulele like character itself, like the dual protagonist thing works. Like it's just fun and looks beautiful. The thing that I had brought up to you all that I was having trouble with was the only thing that made it feel dated was the frame rate playing Steam Deck handheld. If you play on the more beefy consoles on PS5 Series X, it goes up to 60 frames per second 4K, which is amazing. So if you got a beefy PC, it's going to run smooth. If you have a kick-ass console, it's going to be like really smooth. Switch 2 is locked at 30, which is interesting. I just feel like I wasn't always a performance snob, but I feel like now I am, and I just got used to it. It's a beautiful game, but it just I want to see this in a smooth lock 60. So again, I didn't buy it. I just played the demo on Steam Deck, and I just can't see myself pulling the trigger on the Switch 2 edition if it's going to be less performant than Series X. So I might just have to go there. But very beautiful. What were you going to say, Dave?
I was going to point out that Playtonic has stated that a performance mode will probably be available down the line for Switch.
Okay, good.
Um,
Nice.
but as most people, I mean, if you look in default modes for most games, even on PlayStation, when they have performance versus quality, quality mode is usually always default because that's what people prefer. People usually want. People
Mhm.
aren't usually performance snobs
Yeah.
outside of vocal people online. So I think basically what Playtonic said is that's what they focused on, is the experience that most people would enjoy, but that they would like to do a performance mode down the line. And
Anything that really surprised you, or anything that stood out? And also, because I know it's hard, David, to find faults, but I do want to talk about cons as well. So let's get into like pros and cons. So anything that surprised you that's really good, a reason to get this, a reason to play. It's $30, which is not bad for what you're getting here. It's a beefy game. So I would say that it's right in a good price point. Any pros or cons that you want to hit on? Clay, anything that surprised you? Any negatives that you can see here? Or is this just kind of like even better than before and it's basically like a classic? Any faults?
No, no faults necessarily. I will say I haven't played a ton of it yet. I've just been getting started back into it, but I was kind of surprised how challenging this game is. I don't
Hmm.
remember it being so challenging, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's not
mhm,
going to just be a walk in the park. Even playing through it the other day, some of the challenges and things they put on there, even in the first area, the first level,
mhm,
are surprisingly can be like it's not just a I wasn't knocking everything out on my first try. There's a bunch of, as you explore around, you find different things that
Mhm.
you have to complete to get, collectibles for it. And I just found myself like failing, going up to fight the first boss and getting my butt kicked and being like, oh. And so it's not just it's a chill game that you can put on and you can just play and like just explore around and kind of mindlessly play through if you want to. It's a game that you could just very casually get the minimums and move on to the next area, or you could be like David and try to get everything before you move on to the next part. And that's like no easy task. There is some well hidden things. They've bumped up the number of
Mhm.
things that you can get. I don't know. If you compared it to like Bonanza or Odyssey, like I would say this is a bit more challenging. But it's really fun. I really like a lot of the things they added. I love that you can put on costumes now. I love all the tonics and extra abilities that you can unlock and purchase and things. So they've done a lot to keep your interest and to keep you wanting to come back for more. So I really like I appreciate the level of challenge they put on it. If you're looking for a challenge, it's there, and you don't necessarily need to have that, but it's all there. So
How about you, David? Anything that's really stood out to you as a selling point, something that you would point to that says, for this reason, you should get the game for sure. And anything, any flaws in the game at all, anything that you wish was there, um, any cons.
Yeah, I mean, as Rare basically being my favorite game developer growing up, like that's the major thing with me this feels like if this game had the Rare logo in front of it, like no one would bat an eye.
Mm.
Another reality, this feels like the game that came out after Super Mario Odyssey. Um, the Rare game that came out, because back in the day they always used to, there was always like a Nintendo game, and then Rare took inspiration and did their own whole thing, and I loved that back in the day. But yeah, if you like Banjo-Kazooie, you like 3D platformers, you just love the charm of that sort of N64 era, and I'll even say like PS2 era platformer, that whole kind of area of the late 90s, early 2000s, when video games were like fun and charming instead of like dreary and depressing and violent. That's what this brings me back to, and it just makes me really happy. The controls are super tight. And I think it's interesting that so one of the complaints that I hear people online complain about this game seems to contradict a little bit what Clay thought about the difficulty, but a lot of people think this is too easy. So
Yeah, I saw that as well.
yeah,
Too
very
easy.
common complaint about this game is its difficulty. I think it's just right. I haven't gotten frustrated, but there's some challenge definitely along the way. I do think it is easier than the original game significantly, though. But I don't think that's gonna. I don't think that means it's easy. But yeah, compared to the crushing difficulty of the original game, which I never even 100%ed because some of the challenges were very hard in the original game. And it seems like they've gotten at least the unfair bits of the original game don't seem to be problematic anymore. It doesn't feel unfair. It just feels this at a really good difficulty balance. For me, this is my favorite game on Switch. Period. So I don't see any drawbacks. Get it if you don't have a Switch. Get it. I mean, as a Nintendo Rare fan, I say get a Switch and buy it on Switch. I don't care about the frames per second. It feels weird playing it on anything else. But if you don't have a Switch, get it on whatever you have. Amazing game. The only drawbacks I see is it's still built upon the bones of the original game, which
Mm.
there was some flaws with. Most noticeably for me is I feel like the level quality has a down. There's only 5 levels, and there's a level quality kind of a downward slope. So the best parts of the game are very much loaded to the front, and the wind kind of comes out of its sails a little bit as you go through the later levels, which just don't seem to have as much love and care put into them. They do a lot of good work here. I haven't got to the 5th level yet, so I can't comment on that. But so far, I'm on the 4th level right now, the casino level. I must say is I still don't really like this. This was my least favorite level probably in the original game, and it's better, but it's still not great.
I love
So
casino themes. Like
yeah,
I want to see
yeah.
it.
So that I mean, I don't think there's this game also wasn't seeking to completely rebuild the game. It's very much built upon the bones, which is another reason I think there's another Yooka-Laylee game in the works,
I
because
hope so.
the last one was 2019, and even that was the 2D game. Like, I feel like they've been cooking up something bigger for way longer, and it shouldn't have taken them 6 years to make Yooka-Replaylee. It doesn't. There's a lot of stuff here, but it doesn't feel like something that would take 6 years to make of a full studio of people working on it. So other than that, yeah, it's not perfect. It's still a remnant of a Kickstarter game that was probably a little bit rushed. So but I can't think of any other game recently that's as good as it that uses this formula. So if you like the rare collectathon 3D platform formula, um, none of the other spiritual successors or anything else that I've seen that tries to mimic that, including even going back to the stuff in like the PS1, PS2 era, like I mean none of that is as good as this. And this is the best thing to use that formula since like the Rare days. So if you like that, you'll love this game. If you thought 3D collectathon rare platformers were dumb in the 90s, you're not going to change your mind now. And I think that's where some of these negative reviews are coming from, is some people just do not like this type of game.
Yeah,
And that's fair to mention. There's some, to me that's baffling, but I've seen it enough online to understand that this just isn't for everybody. So take that for what it is.
I think I think what's kind of lost, platformers. I'm not the biggest platformer fan. I absolutely adored Bonanza, and I'm playing Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, and I actually stuck with that, and like I'm playing it every night, just like eating away at it. And there's just, I think you have to be in the mood. If it's not like your type of genre, you have to be in the mood. I think what's lost in a lot of this, from what I see from critical reception and people, is the fact that this holds up today. Like, we're not over here saying it feels antiquated, it's not, it's not doing it, it's not fun to play moment to moment. That is definitely not the case. I think it deserves even more props for being holding up today. And I think that's a little bit lost on people. It's like, dude, this came out forever ago, and now they made it even better, and it's still enjoyable for a kick-ass price, and like a beefy like platforming game. It has a soul. It's beautiful. Like, it's net for me incredibly tempting. Like, again, I'm mid deep into a bundle platformer game, but had I not been, that would this would be my next like step, my next like platformer. And again, like the Impossible Layer was so good and so addicting. Like, these characters, the move set that it has, like the style, like it's so good. And that's from, again, someone like me who doesn't love these type of games. So I think nothing but positives here. I'm glad this. I really hope that when you mentioned that switch to that patch, that on Switch 2 it becomes a little more performing, because that would put me over the top. Like, it's going to be, great. There's something like this to me, belongs on like a Switch, on a Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a platformer like that. But any final thoughts for anybody? If not, we can wrap up the discussion on Yooka-Replaylee. I'm very excited for this. We are getting into the holiday season now. We have our next episode should be talking about Pokemon ZA. Sorry, Pokemon ZA. And then we have apparently Kirby Air Riders had a direct that I still haven't watched, that we're going to get into, because apparently it's worth buying. Is that right, Clay? It looks like it's going to be a good one.
I think so. I
It's
think they've
looking
put
good.
enough work into this. I think we owe them that much to at least check it out.
I was leaning toward budgeting my money to prioritizing the Age of Imprisonment, and now I'm rethinking it. So I don't know. And then of course we got Metroid coming later. It's heating up. Thank you for joining us, everybody, for another exciting episode of Switch Talk 2. The Switch 2 is continues to be on a roll, so we'll speak to you soon.